this is not a ham, this is a shoulder picnic. The smoked picnic is also delicious, and at only $1.49 a pound, that's hard to pass up. Of course, this is the one that always gets me, those big pink water-ended smoked hams with those holiday prices. When they're less than $2 a pound, they're really hard to resist. So if you have that problem too, and you know who you are, then I've got the solution for you. And by the way, the solution that's coming up is also good for these smoked shoulder picnics. And isn't that beautiful, that one? That's a whole one. Just gorgeous. One of the reasons that I love shopping in Spanish Harlem is that I can always get a good selection of dried beans and peas. And in this particular case, there they are, whole green peas. I can always find those in supermarkets up this way. And yellow split peas, those two. So that's what we're going to use for our soup today. I think they really make the best pea soup. But if that's not convenient for you, then of course you've always got your regular green split peas, which you should be able to find anywhere. So whatever works best for you, it'll do the job. Well, if you got into trouble with one of these wonderful holiday hams, I'll help you get out of trouble with it. Come with me to the kitchen. Be sure to save the bone from your holiday ham or your smoked picnic shoulder. And one of the best things you can do with that wonderful ham with some meat on it is to make a pea soup. So the one we're doing today is based on a recipe from my Swedish friend Eric from years ago, and we're using whole green peas, dried green peas. You don't have to, but Eric was very specific about using half whole green peas and half split yellow peas. So if you have access to those, great. If you don't, just use green split peas and they'll give you a wonderful soup too. So pick them all over. I spread dried peas and beans out onto a white dinner plate, shake them around, look for little stones and little odd bits of dirt and other kinds of beans and weed seeds and that sort of thing, and get rid of those. So give your dried peas a good rinse and then put them in a big pot. You need enough water to cover them by 2 inches. You can measure that with your forefinger. Your digits are about 1 inch apiece. So there's our 2 inches of water. We're going to bring that just up to the boil, cover it, and set it aside for an hour. So meanwhile, here is the soup base. There's our wonderful ham bone that I took out of the freezer yesterday, defrosted. We're going to brown that in a little vegetable oil to start. And then we have our aromatic vegetables here. You'll see that the onions need to be just kind of thinly sliced. I usually quarter them for something like this, quarter them lengthwise, leaving it attached at the root, and then thinly slice. If you need a finer cut, then do them in 6 or 8 pieces, but quartered is usually pretty good for this kind of a soup. So when the bone starts to caramelize here and there, then it's time to start adding your aromatics. So you can do the onions first. give them a few minutes until they're tender. Then the carrots can go in next. They also need to be in kind of a 1/4-inch dice, so don't be too concerned about the texture, but you don't want great big old pieces. 1/4-inch dice, more or less. Now these are fairly small carrots. You can see I didn't peel them. I generally peel or scrape great big old carrots, but when they're small with thin tender skin, I usually just leave it on. So about 1/4-inch dice for the carrots, get those in. Then a couple of ribs of celery, also about 1/4-inch dice. Get that in. And then you just have a few more flavorings for the soup base, not too much more. We want to get our parsley and garlic in there. They go in just for the last 30 seconds or something like that. You want to get them fragrant, but you don't want to overcook them or they'll taste a little bit bitter. So when the carrots, onions and celery are getting tender, then the garlic you can thinly slice lengthwise. You don't have to make it too small. And just chop up the parsley a bit, and in they go. So when they're just fragrant after a few seconds, then you can start to add the water and then the remaining flavorings. So you probably don't want to put enough water in to totally cover the bone. It'd probably be too much water, but about halfway up the bone anyway. Add some salt, some freshly ground black pepper, and a good big pinch of cayenne. Give it a little bit of zip there. You need some bay leaves and some thyme. I usually use dried leaf thyme, but I happen to have some fresh thyme, so just strip those leaves off and add them in. So that's our soup base. Cover that. That needs to cook for like maybe an hour until the ham is nice and tender. So at that point, of course, the beans will be properly soaked too. So it's time to drain those. Now you can also, if you want to, you can just put raw split peas into your soup base while it's doing that first hour of cooking. If that seems a lot easier to you, then just do that. But I think, especially with the whole green peas, it's good to do the soaking process. So after that hour, you can take the ham bone out, and it's in 2 pieces, you remember, and you can add the beans and or the dried peas, and then now we're getting pea soup. We're getting closer. We need to do a little bit of work on that ham bone now. You want to cut the meat away, the good stuff. Cut that away from the bone, and then put the bone back in the pot and let it cook in with the soup for the next hour or so, so that you get all the flavor out of it. And so bone goes back in, and then you want to dice the meat and add that in too. So once you have the meat diced and returned to your soup, then that's it. that's our soup. Now it just has to cook. So, is it going to take an hour and a half? Well, if depends on how you like your pea soup, and depends on whether or not you soak your peas. If you soak them, maybe just another hour and a half or so will do it. But if you like a really smooth soup, cook it longer. And if you don't soak the peas, then the total cooking time might be as much as 3 hours. If you want to, you can garnish your soup with Parmesan crisps. They're so easy to make. Preheat the oven to 350. Spoon some grated Reggiano onto a silicone baking mat. Just press it down with the back of a spoon into a disc, into the oven. These cook really quickly. The first thing that happens is the cheese starts to bubble, and then it begins to bubble and brown, and there is the finished product. So they're very lacy and crisp, and you can see me trying to pick these up with one hand and holding the camera with the other hand. If you have two hands, it's very simple to pick them up. As you can see, they're very crisp and they won't stick or give you any problems. So they do make a really nice garnish for this soup for elegant occasions. But then, you know, you can also just use croutons or no garnish at all. So that's up to you. So when the soup is nice and thick and smooth the way you like it, you know, correct the seasoning. You'll probably need a little more salt. You have to take the ham bone out. You can discard it at this point. And watch out for those bay leaves. Now you can see I found one of them immediately. The others I'll find later when I'm serving it. Thank you for joining me today for my most favorite split pea soup. The recipe is at brucebeckinthekitchen.com. Please give it a try and say hello. Always love to hear from you. Thank you.